Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of Talk Exchange. Today we have with us a very high energy, very interesting guest. His name is R. Dale Evans, and he is calling in from Fontana, California. And he's going to talk to Tracy and Christy all about community awareness. Going to educate us on some of the things that he is doing in his community. And again, this is just a great discussion with the one and only R. Dale Evans. Hope you enjoy, and we'll see you again next week.
Welcome to this episode of Talk Exchange. I'm Tracy Edwards, CEO of the National Exchange Club, and I'm joined by Christy Linda, our communications director.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Christy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to talk to Ardale.
I am too. You know, we've met so many interesting people by doing these podcasts. I think we're on maybe episode 20-ish, above 20 for sure. But, you know, we've met great people inside and outside of Exchange. I'm really excited today to count our guest as a valued leader of Exchange. He comes to us from Fontana, California, and we're pleased to welcome our California Nevada District President, R. Dale Evans. Welcome, R. Dale.
Hello, and thank you so much.
Good to see you today. Thank you. And you know, it's been great getting to know you and seeing just your passion and your belief for Exchange and for also what you see Exchange doing in your community. And one thing I love about you is your belief to see the future and to also see what we need to do to get there. So I'm excited you're part of Exchange. And tell us how, I guess I don't know the story about how you came into Exchange.
You know, actually, as I was sitting here thinking about it, it's been probably 20 years ago. Back in 2003, I was asked to attend an Exchange Club meeting in Joliet, Illinois. And I went.
Yes.
Yeah, and I went to that meeting. And when I walked into that meeting, there were community leaders that were in there. There was the owner of a jewelry store, the director of a hospital. We had the Will County executive. These were all people that were leaders in the community. So I was really honored to be invited, and that's what I did. But the gentleman who invited me didn't ask me to join.
What?
2 years, two weeks later, I had another gentleman who'd seen me there, and I knew him as well. He said, Dale, I want you to come on back to the meeting. You know, why didn't you join? I said, well, nobody asked me. He said, well, I want you to come back, and I want to sponsor you as a member. And that's exactly what he did. And at that point, I joined and started the journey in Exchange in Joliet, Illinois.
Well, we thank that gentleman.
Absolutely. But then better yet, you moved to California and you still wanted to be part of Exchange. So how did you happen to discover an Exchange Club there? And it was so great that the community of Fontana had a club that you could be part of then.
Well, initially, when I first got to Fontana, the first thing I joined was their Chamber of Commerce, because my professional life, my business is as an insurance broker. I sell life, health, and dipped into some Medicare insurance is what I did. And so what I wanted to do is to get engaged, first of all, with the Chamber of Commerce, which I did. And soon after, I asked, where is the Exchange Club? They told me that there is an Exchange Club, but I was invited to a Rotary meeting.
Oh, my gosh.
And in fact, they did ask me to join, and I told them, no, I'm kind of an Exchange Club guy. I got a meeting with them next week, and that's what I'm going to join. And
Nice.
That's exactly what I did.
Very good. That's a great story.
I just have to say, your energy is always contagious. It doesn't matter where you are, what state, what room, you make people.
Yes.
You make people feel like they should do more.
Yeah.
The key is, and we've always said, invite people to meetings. We need to take it the next step further. And in my personal situation, because I would have joined that day had I been asked.
Right.
But to invite them and then make that ask that they join the club, that's going full circle.
So based on your experience, you learned then how you want to treat prospective members and how you want to treat somebody visiting your club. And I know you've made some great things happen in Fontana, and you even went beyond the local club service level, and now you're serving as the district president. Tell us why you wanted to continue your leadership at the district level.
Somebody asked me.
Yeah, good. They saw leadership potential in you. Yeah.
If I ask him for $1 million, what do you?
I think you have a good chance. Yes, he seems very agreeable.
If I was able, somebody asked. I actually, when I got to Fontana, I saw that Fontana had not been involved with the district for probably about 20 years. Prior to Rick Gordon, and I heard his name, and I looked for Rick for 3 years, and then I kept throwing his name out. I'd go to our district conventions, and they knew the name, but they never found him up because he had done the kind of work that I'm doing now in our district. He was a district president. He got involved with the foundation and the like. And I finally
Right.
saw him in, that would have been Memphis. And when I saw him, I
Yes.
said, I found you, Dad. Where did you go? You said you were just going to get milk and you never came back. And so to reconnect with him and reconnect with him, really to get more of the history of the club and a better understanding of what was going on with the club. Because when I joined the club, there were, I want to say, probably 15 members, and these were all women that were attending the club. We had some people on the books, but they weren't actually attending. And so when I joined, it was really quite different because I came from Illinois. The pace is a little different in Illinois than it is in California, which I've learned the culture are just a little bit different. But I think the same thing I did in Illinois, I do here. I just try my best to slow it down a bit because people say sometimes I talk a little bit too fast, but the message is ultimately the same. But I was excited about the opportunity because I've always been told that the best you can rise as high as you're willing to volunteer.
Yes. That's a good
Maybe I better
phrase.
say
I
that
like
one
that.
again. Yeah, you can rise as high as you may not know what it takes to do it, but if they ask, say yes, I'll do it now. What did I just volunteer for? and I've been, and I've done that, and I've found that I always try to encourage people when people ask for help, say yes. I'll be able to do it because you never know what it can lead to. And the way that I really try to express exchange to folks is that you'll meet people that you wouldn't meet before, and it's not just the work we do at exchange; it's the work that we do at our own personal businesses and our personal lives as well to kind of meld two things together to all do better because it's all about us all doing well. We want to grow our club, but we also want to help people grow their businesses and support what they do.
Well, that's it. That leads back to when Exchange was founded, right? That's how we were founded, as a networking group. So you're applying that same principle there in Fontana. And one thing that you did that I wish more members would do, because I know you reached out to our office and you reached out to me early on just to say you're out there and you wanted some help and some connections and you had some ideas. So that was super cool that you took the initiative to do that. And it's been so great to see you take those next steps in leadership with us. Obviously, you're a great leader in your community, in your career, in your life in so many ways. And we appreciate you sharing that with Exchange.
Well, it's great to hear that from you all, but sometimes at home, you can get some of the most pushback that you could
Yeah,
ever
that's
get.
true.
And
That's
and
true.
and I face that, and I understand that that's all a part of the process of change and of growth. Sometimes it hurts to grow, and
Yes.
and I've said this, and probably shouldn't have as much as I do, but I think it's true. Is that in order for us to grow, some people have to go, or they need to grow.
Yes.
Uh, but we've got to, for exchange, to stay relevant. There are things that we must do, that we have to do to stay in the forefront of what we do. And right now, I'm not quite sure if any of you all are aware of the child abuse prevention here in Fontana was not a pillar that we were really focusing on at all. And I think that it's our national project, and that we
Right.
should, first of all, find out who's doing that in the area and support them. And that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of is that we did found the Child Abuse Prevention Center. There's one in Downey, which is maybe an hour away
Yes.
from us. There's one even closer, about 23 miles away at Loma Linda Hospital, and we've built a relationship with them. And so my thing has always been is I always go back to the bylaws and the purpose of the club. When I came into Fontana, I want to really look at the bylaws and the history of exchange and to go back to our programs of service. We were doing a great job in community service. We actually give out close to this past year, $40,000 in scholarships
Wow.
Wow.
to all of our local schools. This year, we added additional 2 schools, which are charter schools, which I think are just as needy as our public schools. And that was another long conversation. But we agreed that these are kids who need help too. But the one area that we hadn't done much in at all, and that was our national project, which is child abuse prevention. And so I'm extremely excited that we got connected over the past 2 years with the Downey Center, and also we found one here, Loma Linda. So now I feel like we're living out what our purpose is and what the purpose of exchange is, because we've always done well when it came to community service. We have our annual parade, which drew over 10,000 people at
Yes.
the last event. We have our annual carnival that had over 40,000 people, the biggest that we've ever had in the history of the club, which again allows us to allows us to support other agencies and organizations in the area. So there's some great things that we're doing, but we can do more.
Absolutely. And now, how have your club members? So, what you've done is kind of take the club to the next level, right? And you're making these things happen and adding some things, like you said, in some areas where they weren't involved, now they are involved. So, what kind of enthusiasm and involvement have you received from your club as a result of trying these new things and bringing these things in?
Yeah, it is. I always hear is that we don't have enough people. We don't have enough
Mhm.
people to be able to do this. And I say, well, look, let's do this. I'm going to recruit some people to
Yeah.
serve on a committee. So it came down to the thing as what's more important to our clubs? Is it volunteers or members? Well, I think they're equally as important. Sometimes volunteers are more so. In order for us to complete the projects we need, we do have to reach out to people who may not want to be members or can attend meetings, but they do want to serve the community. And so what I did is actually in this case, something that was new, simply because the things we were doing very well. There's no doubt
Mhm.
about it, and they're still doing well. In fact, they're doing better. But now we've added. I recruited new members under specific projects.
Great.
We hadn't done a lot of work in Americanism,
Hmm.
so as time went on, I got to meet a gentleman by the name of Bill Freeman that was doing a project here in Fontana to build a memorial for all of the Fontana residents who passed away in foreign wars. I talked to him and got him to join Exchange. He already had a committee of 20 people. I told him that they don't have to join. They're actually your volunteers, but we'd love for you to join and to work with us. And that's exactly what he did. And there's some huge things that have happened in the last 2 weeks with the mayor actually being a champion for this project. So you're going to hear more about that in Fontana. In fact, his goal is to win the national award for the work that he's doing because he was, the best thing I could do is to get members to come to a convention. There's never been a
Yes.
member, except for myself in 20 years, that ever attended a convention. And so
Hmm.
my immediate past president, Sonia Dawkins, has attended now 2 conferences, and now she has the vision. She can see the bigger picture and the way that we can complete additional projects through recruiting volunteers, and then hopefully, and if we ask, they'll join and become members.
Well, you're right about that. And I love that you have that vision and that you get the connection with being part of the convention, but also with being part of projects. And Christy, we're seeing that with a lot of clubs where they're saying, anymore when you invite a person to a meeting, they kind of might say, oh, I go to a lot of meetings. I
Right.
don't know. I don't need to sit through another lunch. But then when you invite them to a project and they can see the impact of participation, then you have their attention. Then they're sold and they want to do more of that. So that's a great
Right.
angle to bring people to the club.
I'm saying that's exactly what we did, and exactly what we did with our Martin Luther King Day of Service. But I can talk about that
Yes.
later if you want.
Yeah, in fact, lead right into that because, in fact,
Hmm.
you were the catalyst to bring that to the National Exchange Club as a second National Day of Service, in addition to our fourth Saturday in October. And so, this coming 2024 Martin Luther King Jr. Day will also be a National Exchange Club Day of Service. So, what was your I know. Then thank you for bringing that
Yes.
initiative
I
to
almost
us, and we're
clapped on that one, but I was
excited.
supposed not to clap. Okay.
So now we need you to, yeah, lead us in the right direction. So what's your vision for that? What do you see happening leading up to that day and then the impact on that day?
Got it. 2003 in Joliet, Illinois. I got connected with a group that had to deal with Martin Luther King Day of Service, and it was his family. And his family were
Oh.
saying that they
Wow.
didn't want to see their father's birthday turn into a 50% off sale at Wendy's and 3-on-3
Mhm.
basketball tournament. That's
Right.
not what he was about. He said he was about service, and we wanted that to be a day of service. So I connected with the national network, which is a national network because it's a national holiday. Actually, it is the only national holiday day of service that's recognized by the United States government. And so I talked to my church and I
Mhm.
said, I want to do this thing. I want to do a project to start the Martin Luther King Day of Service. And that year, we did 2 projects. I had 12 volunteers. We went to the church, we cleaned it up, and we went to a women's shelter and we cleaned up their kitchen. Over the years, let's move fast forward another 10 years. When we grew too large to actually do it at the church, we went to the University of St. Francis, which welcomed us there, which added a whole nother group of folks, which were students.
Mhm.
Then that opened up another door in my. I'm saying, man, we need to get to the students. And so I reached out to the high school. because all the kids in school need to have a certain amount of community service hours, and
That's
this was an
right.
opportunity for them to do it. Now you have to understand, I'm in Illinois in February. It's freezing cold.
Right.
It's freezing cold, but we were able to we worked with nonprofit organizations. We reached out to them specifically to say that if you have a closet in your building that no one refuses to go into, we'll send a group over to do that. If you've got an area that needs to be painted, we'll send a group over to do that, and various projects. So when I ended there in Illinois, my goal was to have 1,000 volunteers. I got married in 2017. I went back for that final day there, and we had 765
Wow.
volunteers.
Oh,
Nice.
Most of them were connected with my old high school, Joliet Township Central High School, and they did the launch there. We had a local restaurant that provided the food for all of them simply because they were asked. People will
Mhm.
always ask me. We had the congressman who came, the mayor, our state representatives, and people always ask me, Dale, how did you get them to come? I asked.
we're going to call you the Just Ask Man.
That's right.
Just asked. And
Hmm.
so then when I came to California, I said I didn't see anybody that was, because I don't like to duplicate something somebody's doing. If somebody's
Right.
already doing it, I want to partner with them and help make it better. But I didn't see anything happening here. I saw the same thing. I saw dinners, I saw luncheons, etc. And so it would have been 3 years ago now. Well, we missed COVID. Those 2 years we missed, I get mixed up there. That
Mhm.
first year again, I started with my new church that I'm a member of, and we did a project there, and then we had the 2 years of COVID. And then last year we brought it back again with another church that had a larger space. We had over 87 volunteers,
Nice.
and that would be in our 3rd years. And we did Valentine's Day cards for seniors and veterans in the area. They
Aw,
made
Oh,
I love that.
380. Yeah, they made 383 Valentine's Day cards that our Cub Scout group went out and delivered to senior sites and veteran
Mm.
sites here in the area. When I talk about the Cub Scouts were losing their charter here in
Mhm.
Fontana, and they reached out to Exchange Club to see if we would take over the charter with them. Of course, we went through the exchange process, and like I said, yeah, it'd be a great deal, and that's exactly what we did. So now we got a scoutmaster, and now we got some built-in kids that are in
Awesome.
there as well, and a scoutman built in some built-in volunteers, which is
Mhm.
very important to me, is to engage and connect with the youth in our community. And one of my goals, well, it's been for the last 2 years, is to grow an Excel club. So I guess that seed needs to take a deeper root. But this year, my hope is
Definitely.
we'll have
This
a
is your
harvest
year.
of a couple of exchange clubs here, and we'll recruit them to actually help us with the Martin Luther King Day of Service and all of the other projects that we do throughout the year.
Good. So, what should clubs be doing right now? So, likely they're listening to this, or they'll see it in our upcoming magazine that is a National Day of Service for Exchange. So, what should Exchange clubs be doing right now in order to prepare for that day? And what do you suggest a club does, given that they likely haven't done this before? Where should
Mhm.
they start?
Right. Well, I would firstly start within the club to identify somebody, or I would really try to get connected with the schools.
Hmm.
Something that I did over time, I would do that right away, which is what I'm doing
True.
here, because these young people need those kind of opportunities. I also see it as an opportunity to invite and include in diversity within exchange.
Yes.
If we're
Yes.
honest with each other, it's a goal,
Yeah.
and it's an honest goal.
Absolutely. Hmm.
And I think that through this project, it's an opportunity across the nation for my suggestion would be for our clubs to contact specifically African
Hmm.
American sororities and
Yes.
fraternities. These are folks who've graduated, are connected, are doing service work on their own. And the reason that they won't is that they're not asked. And as soon as we can ask them, I'm actually surely certain across the country we can get a partnership with a population that we don't have a real relationship with,
Hmm.
built around service projects. I generally, with those first, my question has always been, what comes first, the projects or the volunteers? That one's a tough one
Hmm.
because there's been times where I had more projects than I had volunteers, but I had a huge project which was removing reefs from the cemetery at Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery in the winter. Imagine that.
Oh my.
We
Yeah.
sent out bus loads of kids, probably close to 300-400 kids, and the local people who'd been doing that for years and never really had support were almost in tears when they
Hmm.
saw those kids get off that bus and knock out a project that used to take them 4 or 5 hours in
Mm-hmm.
about 2 hours. And so if I
Nice.
ever had excess people, I'd send them out to that. Cleaning up parks is a good one. I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
about, when I think about this, I think about, I was able to get more success in the winter than I've had so far here in the summer. But my goal is going to be the same, is to work with the city. We like to work with the city. We want Exchange to be partnered
Mm-hmm.
with the city and Public Works. There are parks in every community that could use a cleanup. Again, I'm thinking about the winter. That may not happen back
Mm-hmm.
east. Um, Again, talking to nonprofit organizations to partner with them. If you just need some envelopes to be addressed out for your fundraiser, any of those little tedious things that you don't like to do, you can pull up a team together to do that. I would also encourage the leaders in Exchange to contact their church or any organization that they
Absolutely.
work with that's a
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit. Is there something that we can do? Can we vacuum the church? Can we go in and do a paint job? Something that we can do inside, something that's not going to not to take too much time and need too much professionalism. We do that. This year, I want to do a project that's going to be called SOS, Serve Our Seniors,
Nice.
to try to reach out to seniors. And again, I work in my church that haven't been in their garage because they can't, to send over some
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 teenage young men to go to work and clean it up. It may be a person who hadn't had a cooked meal at home, that somebody
True.
has a gift and do that, go into that house and do it. This is a day that you just provide service. And I let people know that it's really a half day, because we
Mm-hmm.
get people checked in at 7:38. They go out, they do their project, they're back by noon. We do a little recap about what they actually experienced and what they did and have lunch. And then we send them off to the 50% off sale at Walmart.
Well, that's a great use of the day. Thank you for making that happen for people. And, that's the thing that we say about Exchange a lot. A lot of people join clubs like Exchange so they can make a difference like that, because everybody knows the benefits of volunteering. It's good for your health. It makes you feel good. It makes friends. It gets you connected to your community. So you're bringing people in to help them work together to achieve that. That's awesome.
Yes, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually working on that here in California, because again, I would love the nation to jump on board, but I'm right here in California, and
Yeah.
we got a lot of districts out here. Uh, we've got a lot of districts out here. If that I can get that sold to a few of them, again, I, what I have to really accept that I'm not going to get to that 1,000 in a day.
Right.
But my goal is still to have 1,000 folks probably doing 100 projects in some city. I'm going to also put together kind of a guide on how to put that together, and I'll make that
Good.
available. I can get a piece somehow. We can get it out to the other clubs, and in some of those states, I may have contacts that they can reach out to right away. I'm so glad to say that they are still doing it in Joliet.
Mm-hmm.
And it has
Good.
grown to over 1,000, because they've got young people that got on
Mm-hmm.
board, and they're doing a lot of this stuff is online. They are registering for the projects online. People are requesting projects, and it's all being done electronically. So we've got to embrace it
Awesome.
and embrace it and get some folks in that can actually help us to stay connected with the new world that we're living in.
Yeah, you're right. And how are you expanding this in your district? Now that you're the district president, are you seeing success with getting the district? So other clubs outside of Fontana, are they on board to be involved leading up to that day and on that day?
Right. My first meeting with my full crew is going to be this evening, which
Awesome.
it
Good
is.
timing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's going to be this evening. We got some folks that did lived on the other side of the tracks here in my town, and in our clubs. These are folks that have not had an African American. In fact, I'm going to be visiting some clubs that have not had an African American anywhere near their clubs since they've been around. And so
Right.
I have to be very, very cognizant of the fact that some people just don't know, and to be able to navigate that to make it happen. So to simply say this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share it with our clubs. I'm going to give them kind of the template of exactly how you can go about it, and who you should possibly contact in your area. If you only do it with your club and go over to your mom or grandma's house and do something that day, then I would consider that a project. Um, so we're going to really push that hard. We'll share with them the marketing pieces that we've used in the past. They may have to make a change or two, but from there it'd be good.
And I like what you're saying, because this is a great opportunity, just like Martin Luther King Jr.'s message is to bring people together around Exchange's motto of unity for service. And
Exactly.
as
That's what I'm saying.
yes. And as you're talking, I hear you obviously have a full life, and a lot of people, when we invite them to Exchange clubs or projects, they say I'm busy. What would you say to those people, recognizing that you can make time in a very full life to have
Right.
huge impact?
I would tell them that's why I'm asking you. I don't
Yeah,
talk to people for
exactly.
this.
That's
That's the
it.
very reason I'm asking you. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And but I'm not asking you to take the. Well, maybe I would be. In fact, I don't mind asking the person to take the lead. I want you to
Hmm.
come in and I want you to take the lead on this. And that again creates sometime a problem with your regular members, because if you've recruited them to come in and they've also joined, and now I want them to be feel welcome. Again, I've got
Right.
to do a better job of. I've got to do a better job of embracing those who got us to where we are now, and
Mm.
for them not to be so threatened with change, but to embrace it, to know
Right.
that this is their legacy. This is their legacy that we're going to move forward. It's not Dale. It's always Dale. No, it's not. It's what you all have done. You've laid a foundation. Yeah, for sure. Have I come in and tried to build on it? Absolutely. Have I tried to leave leaders that could continue that and kind of groom my leaders to continue that? Absolutely, I have. And so sometimes I get a sense that, well, I always get a sense that there's pushback. But again, new ideas come sometimes bother people. But when we sit back and look at the outcome and the results, we should have some satisfaction. If you don't, too bad.
Well, that's true, and you're right. We can keep some of the traditions that have made exchange great, and we've said in a lot of ways things have stayed. We've stayed true to our values for 112 years, but the reality is we need to do things differently in order to stay current and relevant in today's world, because that's how we bring people together, right?
Absolutely. And I think we've done a really good job. And again, people always they take some pride in the fact of saying we're the best kept secret in the
Oh,
country. I don't take any pride in that.
no, no.
That's nothing, and then that seems to bleed over into the club.
Right.
So what I've done and will continue to do, and encourage other clubs to do, is to reach out before you have your event. Send something to your newspapers and local newspaper. After you have
Definitely.
the event, send back the pictures of the event and how it happened. And after that, send a letter to the editor thanking all of your sponsors and people who did it. Always keeping exchange in front of them once a month, once every now and again. You see something about the Exchange Club, and that's the way we'll continue to grow. In fact, this podcast is another opportunity for Exchange to embrace the opportunity to communicate and reach out to people. Right now, what I found is that people don't read the newspapers anymore. I mean, I've
Hmm.
asked a group of folks this morning how many of them had read a newspaper, and none of them said they had. And so, my great
Hmm.
challenge and opportunity, I guess, is to understand where are people getting their information. And so we've got to use we've got to use Instagram. We've got to be using Facebook and all of those other new platforms that come up and are available. And what I found with our club is that we had to shift some of the dollars we were investing in print and put it into to the online, and we saw the results with an increase of close to, I don't know, it's close to $70,000 that we increased. And we got
Wow.
people who came from areas that they'd never come from because they didn't know. And so
Right.
when we put it out on the internet, it comes. And so we've got to embrace it, even if we can't do it. We need to reach out to some young people, your kids, your grandkids, somebody, give them a stipend or whatever you need to do to keep your club in front of your town, your city, and around the state, and so we can be relevant throughout the country.
Great advice. And thank you for the impact you're having in Fontana and beyond. And thanks for being a valued leader of exchange.
Thank you so much for a platform and an opportunity to serve. Right now, I think the child abuse prevention, which is our national project, if you've had an opportunity to see Sounds of Freedom, which is a movie that's out now, I would encourage you all to see. That we need to hold up the banner of child abuse prevention, because it's getting worse and it's turning into child slavery, etc. So, as we study and grow, I think that's an area that we should focus on as well. But if you haven't seen the movie, see Sounds of Freedom.
That's good. Well, thank you, Ardale, for joining us today.
All right, thank you.